Everyone mocked the boy for attending class barefoot until graduation day arrived. A luxury car pulled up, capturing everyone's attention, and when the owner stepped out, the entire school was in shock. In an ordinary school located in a bustling and diverse city, a new day began as students arrived in groups, chatting and laughing as they made their way to the main entrance. Among the crowd of young people, one stood out, not because of his appearance or clothing, but for something much simpler and yet more puzzling: his bare feet. Martin, a 16-year-old teenager, walked with his head held high and a calm expression on his face despite the surprised and disapproving looks he received as he passed by. His classmates, who had grown accustomed to seeing him this way since the first day of school, were no longer surprised, but that didn't stop them from whispering and laughing behind his back. "There goes the poor kid," some murmured. "He probably doesn't even have money to buy shoes," others mocked. Martin, however, seemed oblivious to the malicious comments. With his backpack on his shoulder and books under his arm, he headed to his classroom with the same determination as always. For him, going barefoot was not a choice born out of necessity or lack of resources, but a personal decision that reflected his outlook on life. Since he was very young, Martin had learned from his mother the importance of humility and simplicity. She, a woman of great heart and wisdom, had taught him that a person's worth was not measured by the material possessions they owned, but by the nobility of their spirit and the strength of their principles. Before passing away from an incurable illness, Martin's mother had made him promise that he would never forget those lessons and live according to them. And so he did. Even though his father, a successful billionaire businessman, offered him all the imaginable luxuries and comforts, the young man preferred to lead a simple and authentic life. Going to school barefoot was his way of honoring his mother's memory and staying true to himself despite others' criticism and prejudices. As he walked through the school's hallways, Martin could feel the curious glances and whispers around him. Some students pointed at him, while others moved aside as if they feared catching his supposed poverty. Martin, however, was not intimidated by such mean-spirited attitudes. With his head held high and a kind smile on his lips, he greeted those who dared to look him in the eye, demonstrating that true wealth lay in the warmth of a gesture and the nobility of a heart. As the day went on, Martin attended his classes with the same dedication and enthusiasm as always. His teachers, who had initially been skeptical of his peculiar appearance, eventually came to recognize his intelligence and commitment to learning. Martin was a brilliant student who stood out for his class participation and his ability to tackle complex topics with clarity and maturity beyond his years. However, not everyone at the school appreciated Martin's qualities. A group of popular and wealthy students, led by an arrogant young man named Diego, had made it their mission to make the barefoot boy's life miserable. To them, Martin's simplicity and humility were reasons for ridicule and disdain, and they never missed an opportunity to humiliate and marginalize him. "Look at the beggar," Diego mocked whenever he crossed paths with Martin in the hallways. "What's up, poor boy? Can't you afford even second-hand shoes?" His henchmen, a group of shallow and cruel youths, celebrated his insults with loud laughter and looks of superiority. Martin, however, was not provoked by their verbal attacks. With a calmness that baffled his tormentors, he gave them a compassionate look and continued on his way, aware that true strength lay in the ability to forgive and move forward. But Diego and his group weren't the only burden Martin had to bear. Many other students, influenced by prejudice and appearances, also looked at him with disdain and avoided interacting with him. To them, Martin was an oddity, an outcast who didn't fit the mold of what was considered normal and acceptable. Despite everything, Martin did not let loneliness or rejection get him down. He found solace in his passion for study and his unwavering faith in human goodness. Each day, upon returning home, he found refuge in the warmth of his home and his father's unconditional love. "My son," his father would say tenderly, "never forget that your worth doesn't lie in what you have, but in who you are." Your mother would be proud to see the noble and brave young man you've become. With tears in his eyes, Martin hugged his father and thanked him for his love and understanding. He knew that thanks to his father's support and his mother's teachings, he could face any adversity and overcome it. Thus, day after day, Martin continued to attend school barefoot, enduring the scornful looks and hurtful comments with admirable strength and dignity. He knew that his journey would not be easy, but he was determined to walk it with his head held high and his heart full of hope. It was a day like any other at the school, or so it seemed. The students gathered in the courtyard during recess, forming groups and chatting animatedly. Some played ball, others shared laughs and gossip, while a few took the time to review notes or finish pending assignments. Amid this everyday hustle and bustle, Martin strolled calmly through the courtyard, enjoying the feeling of the grass beneath his bare feet. Despite the curious glances and malicious comments that followed him everywhere he went, the young man remained serene and focused on his thoughts. However, that day destiny had an unexpected twist in store for Martin. Diego, the leader of the group of popular and wealthy students who tormented him, had decided to take his taunts and humiliation to a new level. With a malicious smile on his face, Diego approached Martin, closely followed by his henchmen. The entire courtyard seemed to hold its breath, anticipating the confrontation about to unfold. Well, look who we have here," Diego sneered, standing in front of Martin with his arms crossed, the poor barefoot boy in person. Martin, accustomed to Diego's provocations, simply looked at him calmly and said nothing. His silence, however, only seemed to fuel his antagonist's anger and disdain. "What's the matter, beggar? Cat got your tongue?" Diego insisted, raising his voice to ensure everyone in the courtyard could hear him. "Oh wait, you probably don't even have money to buy rats. You must feed on scraps you find in the trash." Diego's henchmen's cruel laughter rose in the air while some students joined in the mockery, and others watched the scene with discomfort and secondhand embarrassment. Martin, however, remained impassive, refusing to be provoked by the insults. But Diego was not willing to give up so easily. With a malicious gleam in his eyes, he moved even closer to Martin and, in a quick and ruthless move, kicked him in the shin, causing him to stumble. Martin, taken aback by the sudden physical attack, lost his balance and fell to the ground, scraping his hands and knees in the process. A sepulchral silence took over the courtyard as everyone present held their breath, stunned by Diego's cruelty. "Look at him! The poor boy can't even stand on his feet," Diego taunted, reveling in his victory. "He's probably used to crawling on the ground like the trash he is." With tears of pain and humiliation in his eyes, Martin slowly got up from the ground, brushing the dirt off his hands and knees. Around him, some students looked away, unable to bear the shame and discomfort of witnessing such an act of cruelty. But Martin, instead of responding with anger or resentment, did something that left everyone present speechless. With admirable dignity and composure, the young man stood up, looked Diego directly in the eyes, and with a soft but firm voice, spoke words that would remain etched in everyone's memory. "You can hit me, insult me, and humiliate me all you want, Diego, but that won't change who I am or what I'm worth. My worth doesn't lie in my shoes or appearance, but in my heart and actions. Someday, I hope you can understand that and find the peace and happiness you deserve." With those words, Martin turned and walked away from the courtyard, leaving behind a stunned silence and a confused and furious Diego. From that moment on, something began to change at the school. Although the taunts and scorn toward Martin did not completely disappear, many students began to see him with new eyes. His strength, dignity, and ability to forgive and move forward despite adversity became a source of admiration and respect for some. Others, however, clung to their prejudices and superficial view of the world. To them, Martin was still the poor, barefoot boy, an outcast who deserved nothing but disdain and ridicule. But Martin, faithful to his principles and his mother's teachings, did not let adversity bring him down. Each day, he continued to attend school with the same determination and enthusiasm, eager to learn and grow as a person. In class, Martin continued to stand out for his intelligence and dedication. His teachers, increasingly aware of his potential and noble spirit, began to treat him with special respect and consideration. Some even entrusted him with additional tasks and responsibilities, recognizing his maturity and leadership skills. However, despite these small triumphs, Martin still faced loneliness and isolation. Many students, fearful of being associated with the poor boy, avoided getting close to him or forming friendships. Martin, however, was not discouraged by this situation. He knew that true friendship was not based on appearances or possessions, but on a genuine connection between souls. Thus, Martin continued his journey, focused on his studies and personal growth. Every afternoon upon returning home, he found comfort in his father's love and unconditional support, who was always ready to listen and offer wise advice. "Remember, my son," his father often said, "the road may be lonely and challenging, but if you stay true to yourself and your principles, you'll eventually find your place and people who will value you for who you are." With those words etched in his heart, Martin faced each new day with renewed hope and determination, ready to overcome any obstacles life might present. As time passed, Martin's reputation began to spread beyond the school walls. His story of courage and determination reached the ears of many people in the city, including some of the most influential and respected figures in society. Little by little, the myth of the barefoot boy who faced adversity with dignity and nobility captured the interest and admiration of many. The climax of this story came on graduation day, a momentous occasion for all students, marking the culmination of their school journey and the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. The atmosphere was filled with excitement and anticipation as families and friends gathered in the auditorium, eager to celebrate the achievements of their loved ones. Among the graduates stood Martin, dressed in a simple yet elegant outfit, his bare feet once again catching the attention and curiosity of all present. But that day, something extraordinary was about to happen. As the graduation ceremony unfolded, a luxury car pulled up at the entrance of the auditorium, capturing everyone's attention. From it emerged a distinguished man dressed in an elegant suit, his presence exuding an air of authority and respect. Those present began to whisper, wondering who the mysterious visitor could be and what he was doing there. The man entered the auditorium and approached the stage, where the principal and teachers conducted the ceremony. With a calm and confident voice, he requested the opportunity to speak to the audience, and the principal, recognizing the importance of the moment, granted him permission. "Good afternoon to all present," the man began, his voice echoing through the auditorium. "My name is Alberto Vargas, and I am the president of the Vargas Foundation, an organization dedicated to supporting young people of exceptional talent and potential. Today, I have come to this school to honor a very special young man, someone who has demonstrated an unwavering spirit and an admirable determination to overcome adversity." The audience listened intently, intrigued by the unexpected intervention and curious to learn more about the young man in question. "This young man," continued Mr. Vargas, "is a true example of courage, integrity, and strength of character. Despite facing obstacles and challenges, he has remained faithful to his principles and values, showing the world that true worth lies not in material possessions, but in the nobility of the heart." At that moment, Mr. Vargas turned to Martin and, with a kind smile, motioned for him to join him on stage. Martin, surprised and moved by the unexpected recognition, hesitated for a moment before stepping forward with quiet confidence. As he climbed the stage stairs, applause and cheers erupted in the auditorium, celebrating his achievement and courage. Once on stage, Martin was embraced by Mr. Vargas, who, with tears of pride in his eyes, congratulated him on his courage and determination. "Martin," he said, "it is an honor to meet you and recognize your value and potential. On behalf of the Vargas Foundation, I would like to offer you a full scholarship to the university of your choice so that you can continue to pursue your dreams and make a difference in the world." Moved by the gesture and recognition, Martin thanked Mr. Vargas with tears in his eyes, his heart full of gratitude and hope. That day, in front of his classmates, teachers, and family, Martin realized that his journey had not been in vain and that his mother's teachings had guided him to an unexpected and rewarding destination. Thus, the story of the barefoot boy came to a close, leaving behind a lasting legacy of courage, determination, and faith in human goodness. His example inspired many, both inside and outside the school, to reconsider their values and priorities, realizing that true wealth and happiness lie not in material possessions, but in the nobility of the spirit and the strength of the heart. Martin, for his part, continued his journey, ready to face new challenges and adventures with the same courage and determination that had led him to that stage and destined to leave an indelible mark on the world and those who had the privilege of knowing him. Every day as Martin entered the institute, he chose to understand and forgive, whispering a silent prayer for peace and enlightenment for all those around him. In his heart, he hoped that one day they might open their minds and souls to the truth and beauty he saw in the world. Meanwhile, Martin found solace and strength in his love of learning and unwavering faith in human goodness. Each afternoon, upon returning home, he immersed himself in his books and studies, exploring new ideas and horizons. Reading became his refuge, a space where he could be himself without fear of judgment or rejection. His father, always attentive and understanding, supported his passion for learning. Together, they spent hours discussing philosophy, history, art, and science, discovering a deep and lasting bond in dialogue and reflection. Martin marveled at his father's wisdom and generosity, who, despite his wealth and success, had never lost the humility and simplicity that defined him. "My son," his father said tenderly, "never forget that true learning isn't confined to classrooms or books. Life itself is a constant teacher, instructing us through experiences and challenges. Learn from indifference and rejection, for they will teach you the value of compassion and tolerance. Learn from loneliness, for it will show you how to find strength within yourself. And above all, learn to love and forgive, for therein lies true wisdom." Martin, moved by his father's words, treasured them in his heart and strove to live by them every day. He knew that the path of understanding and acceptance wasn't easy, but he was determined to walk it with courage and resolve. And so, while the institute continued its routine with its dramas and trivialities, Martin walked through the halls with the serenity of one who had found a higher purpose. His presence, though ignored by many, radiated a silent light, a testament that true greatness lies in the simplicity and nobility of the spirit. The indifference, though painful, was merely a phase in Martin's journey. Unbeknownst to him, he was preparing for a pivotal moment, an unexpected and revealing turning point in his story. Time, with its relentless pace, led Martin and his classmates to the moment they had awaited for years: graduation day. This event, rich with symbolism and emotion, marked the end of one chapter and the start of another, a threshold separating adolescence from adulthood, opening the doors to a future full of possibilities. For Martin, graduation was more than a mere rite of passage. It was the culmination of a personal journey, a testament to his resilience and determination in the face of adversity. Despite the mockery, humiliation, and indifference he had faced during his years at the institute, Martin never gave up. He persevered in his studies and values, staying true to himself and the teachings of his beloved mother. As he prepared for this pivotal moment, Martin couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. On one hand, there was joy and pride in reaching this goal, proving that true wealth lies in knowledge and the nobility of the spirit. On the other hand, there was nostalgia and uncertainty about leaving behind a chapter of his life and facing a new, unfamiliar world. But Martin, with the wisdom and serenity that defined him, knew that every ending is also a new beginning, and that the lessons learned in the past form the foundation upon which the future is built. With his heart full of gratitude and hope, he was ready to embrace this day as a celebration of all he had been and all he was yet to become. The institute, usually a place of routine and monotony, had transformed for the occasion. The halls and classrooms were adorned in the school's colors, and an atmosphere of festivity and excitement filled the air. Family, friends, and teachers arrived gradually, filling the venue with their smiles, hugs, and congratulatory words. Martin, as always, arrived walking barefoot, his gown and cap immaculate. His father accompanied him with pride, holding his arm and looking at him with a mixture of tenderness and admiration. To him, Martin was not just his son but also his teacher, a living example of the values and principles he strove to embody. As they approached the auditorium where the ceremony would take place, Martin could feel the curious glances and whispers around him. Some pointed fingers, others whispered to one another, surprised and puzzled by his appearance. But Martin, accustomed to such reactions, remained unfazed. With his head held high and a serene smile on his lips, he continued walking, focused on the moment and the joy of sharing this achievement with the people he loved. Upon entering the auditorium, Martin and his father took their seats among the other graduates and their families. The atmosphere was electric, filled with nervousness and anticipation. The students, usually divided by differences and prejudices, seemed united by a shared sense of achievement and camaraderie. For a moment, social and economic barriers blurred, with young people on the brink of crossing a significant threshold in their lives. The ceremony began with words from the principal, who congratulated the graduates on their dedication and effort. Then, one by one, the students were called to the stage to receive their diplomas amid applause and cheers from their loved ones. When Martin's turn came, he walked to the podium with a grace and dignity that impressed everyone present. As he received his diploma, he saw in the eyes of his teachers a glimmer of respect and admiration, a silent acknowledgement of his worth as a human being and a student. But the most anticipated moment of the ceremony was yet to come. Traditionally, one outstanding student was given the honor of addressing their peers, a speech that sought to capture the spirit and meaning of this milestone in their lives. This year, to the surprise of many, Martin was chosen. When his name was announced, an expectant silence fell over the auditorium. All eyes turned to the barefoot young man, who, with enviable calm and confidence, approached the podium. Martin, aware of the importance of this moment, took a deep breath and began to speak with a clear and firm voice that resonated in every corner of the venue. Dear classmates, teachers, family, and friends, today is a day of celebration and reflection. Today, as we cross this threshold, we are not only leaving behind a chapter of our lives, but also embracing a future full of possibilities and challenges. Martin paused, allowing his words to sink into the hearts of those present. Then, with a gaze full of compassion and wisdom, he continued, "Throughout these years, we have learned many things. We have studied science, history, and literature, but beyond academic knowledge, we have learned invaluable lessons about life itself. We have learned that true wealth does not reside in material possessions, but in the nobility of the spirit and the generosity of the heart. We have learned that diversity is not a threat, but an opportunity to grow and broaden our perspectives. And above all, we have learned that each of us, regardless of our circumstances or appearances, possesses intrinsic value and inalienable dignity." Martin's words, spoken with sincerity and conviction, touched the deepest fibers of those present. Many, even those who had once underestimated or ignored him, couldn't help but feel a lump in their throats and an indescribable emotion in their chests. Today, as we leave this chapter of our lives, Martin continued, "We carry with us these lessons. We bear the responsibility to be agents of change, to build a world that is more just, more compassionate, and more humane. A world where the dignity of each person is recognized and valued, regardless of their social status, appearance, or background. A world where empathy, respect, and love are the guiding principles of our actions and relationships." At this point, the emotion in Martin's voice was palpable, his eyes shining with unshed tears as he looked at his father, who gazed back with infinite pride and tenderness. "I want to take this moment," Martin said, "to thank my father, my greatest support and my best friend. Thank you for your unconditional love, for your wisdom, and for your example of integrity and generosity. Thank you for teaching me that true nobility lies in serving others and staying true to our principles. Without you, I wouldn't be the person I am today." Tears now flowed freely down Martin's cheeks and those of many present. The atmosphere in the auditorium was one of deep emotion and connection, as if for a moment, all barriers and differences had vanished, leaving only the common essence of humanity. "Classmates," Martin concluded, "as we leave this hall today, we carry with us the responsibility and privilege of making a difference in the world. We carry the task of being light in the darkness, love amid hatred, and compassion in a sea of indifference. May our lives be a living testament to the values and principles we have learned, and may our actions be seeds of hope and change for future generations." With these words, Martin finished his speech amid a silence filled with emotion and reflection. Then, as if a spell had been broken, the auditorium erupted in thunderous applause. a spontaneous tribute to the wisdom and nobility of this extraordinary young man. Martin, overwhelmed by the response of his classmates and teachers, stepped down from the stage with tears in his eyes and a smile on his lips. As he reached his father, they embraced deeply and movingly, a gesture that sealed the love and camaraderie that united them. And so, amid the excitement and joy of graduation, Martin achieved more than just a diploma. He touched the hearts and minds of those around him, planting a seed of change and hope in a world too accustomed to superficiality and indifference after the emotional graduation ceremony. Martin and his father made their way to the parking lot of the institute in a thoughtful and shared silence. They both sensed that this day had marked an important milestone in their lives, not just because of Martin's academic achievement, but also due to the profound impact his words and example had had on the school community. As they walked, Martin couldn't help but notice the glances and whispers of those around them. Unlike other occasions, these gestures were not filled with disdain or indifference, but with curiosity, admiration, and even respect. It was as if, for the first time, his peers and teachers were seeing beyond appearances, recognizing the depth and nobility within the heart of this barefoot young man. However, what neither Martin nor the others knew was that this day held an even greater surprise for them, an unexpected turn that would shake the foundations of everything they thought they knew about this extraordinary student. Just as Martin and his father were about to reach their modest car, a luxurious and majestic vehicle pulled up in front of them. It was unlike any car they had ever seen at the institute, with its sleek lines, tinted windows, and impeccable bodywork. It seemed out of place in this simple setting, like an apparition from another world. The crowd, drawn by the presence of this enigmatic vehicle, began to gather around, murmuring and speculating about who could be its mysterious owner. Some took out their mobile phones, eager to capture the moment and share it on social media, while others simply watched with a mix of fascination and envy, wondering what kind of person could afford such luxury. But nothing could have prepared them for what happened next. The rear door of the vehicle opened, and out stepped none other than Martin's father, with a poise and elegance that contrasted with his usual humble attire. And there, before the astonished eyes of all, the driver of the vehicle approached Martin, bowed respectfully, and invited him to enter. A profound silence fell over the scene, with everyone present, including the teachers and the principal, watching with open mouths, unable to believe what they were witnessing. How was it possible that Martin, the barefoot boy, marginalized and underestimated by all, was, in reality, the son of such a wealthy and powerful man? Yet, far from reveling in this moment of revelation, Martin approached his father with a serene smile and a glimmer of complicity in his eyes, both aware of the impact this scene would have on the school community. They embraced warmly and sincerely, a gesture that conveyed love and a connection beyond material possessions. Then, to the amazement of everyone, Martin addressed the crowd with a clear and firm voice. He began to speak, not as a child but as a wise man and teacher. "Friends, classmates, teachers," he said, "I know this scene may seem puzzling or even shocking to many of you. I know that for years you have seen me as the poor boy, the outcast, the different one. And I know that perhaps, unknowingly, you have projected your own prejudices and fears onto me." He paused, allowing his words to resonate in the hearts of those present. "But today, I want you to know that my decision to go barefoot, to live with simplicity and humility, has not been imposed by circumstances but a conscious and deliberate choice. A choice based on the values and principles my beloved mother instilled in me and that my father has supported and respected unconditionally." Martin's eyes filled with tears as he mentioned his mother, but his voice did not waver. "My mother taught me that true wealth does not lie in material possessions, but in the nobility of spirit and the generosity of the heart. She taught me that every human being, regardless of their condition or appearance, has intrinsic value and inalienable dignity. And she taught me that the greatest happiness and fulfillment are found in serving others and being faithful to our principles." A murmur swept through the crowd as Martin's words touched the deepest fibers of their souls. "Today, by revealing this aspect of my life," Martin continued, "I am not seeking to impress you or win your approval. On the contrary, I want to invite you to reflect on the lessons we can all learn from this experience. lessons about the importance of looking beyond appearances, cultivating empathy and compassion, and valuing diversity and authenticity in all its forms. At this point, Martine's father approached his son and, with a gesture of infinite love and respect, placed his hand on his shoulder. "I am proud of you, my son," he said with an emotional voice. "Proud of your strength, your integrity, and your wisdom. You have shown through your example and your words that true nobility is not inherited but cultivated day by day through our actions and decisions. And you have been a teacher and constant inspiration to me and to everyone around you." Father and son embraced once more as the crowd, moved to tears, burst into spontaneous and sincere applause. It was applause that celebrated not wealth or status, but the humanity, authenticity, and nobility of spirit embodied in Martine and his family. And so, amid this moment of revelation and emotion, something began to change in the Institute and the community in general. The barriers and prejudices that had once divided people started to melt away, replaced by a sense of unity, empathy, and mutual respect. Martine's story, which had begun as a tale of marginalization and disdain, had transformed into a powerful testimony of the human capacity to grow, learn, and change. After the revelation in the Institute's parking lot, the lives of Martine and his father took an unexpected turn. The news of the true identity of the barefoot boy quickly spread throughout the city, generating unprecedented media attention. Overnight, Martine became a public figure, a symbol of humility, wisdom, and nobility that inspired people of all ages and social backgrounds. But for Martine, this attention was nothing more than a distraction. His true interest remained the same as always: to learn, grow, and serve others. Thus, after many conversations and reflections with his father, he made a decision that would surprise everyone once again. At a press conference called by his father, Martine announced that he would renounce his share of the family inheritance to create a foundation dedicated to promoting education, inclusion, and community development. The foundation, which would bear the name of his late mother, would aim to provide opportunities for marginalized young people and foster the values of empathy, respect, and solidarity in society. The news had an immediate and profound impact. Many admired Martine's generosity and vision, recognizing in his gesture an inspiring example of social commitment and civic responsibility. Others, however, questioned his decision, arguing that he was wasting a unique opportunity to secure his future and enjoy the privileges of his position. But Martine, true to his principles, was not intimidated by the criticism or doubts. With the help of his father and a team of committed collaborators, he devoted himself wholeheartedly to launching his project. He visited vulnerable communities, met with local leaders, and listened attentively to the needs and aspirations of the people he sought to serve. Gradually, the foundation began to take shape. Scholarship programs for low-income students were established, community centers offering free courses and activities were created, and initiatives were launched to promote dialogue and coexistence between different social groups. Martine, with his charisma and dedication, became a respected and beloved leader by all those he touched with his work, but his impact was not limited to his hometown. Martine's story and foundation began to resonate across the country and beyond its borders. His message of compassion, dignity, and social justice inspired a new generation of young people who, like him, dreamed of a more equitable and humane world. Many followed his example, creating their own projects and movements to generate positive change in their communities. Over time, Martine became an international reference in education and social development. He was invited to give lectures at prestigious universities, to advise governments and organizations, and to participate in forums and debates on the most pressing challenges of his time. Always with his characteristic humility and authenticity, he shared his vision and experience, inspiring others to join his cause. But despite his achievements and recognition, Martine never forgot his roots or the values that had guided him since childhood. He continued to live simply and modestly, dedicating most of his time and resources to his social work. And true to his custom, he continued to walk barefoot, not as a gesture of ostentation or eccentricity, but as a constant reminder of his commitment to humility and connection to the earth. His father, who had been his unconditional support throughout this process, could not be more proud. He saw in his son the living embodiment of the values he had tried to cultivate throughout his life. integrity, generosity, and love for others. Together, father and son became an inseparable team, working tirelessly to build a better and fairer world. And so, what had begun as the story of a marginalized and underestimated boy became the story of a global movement for dignity, equality, and solidarity. Martin, with his example and legacy, demonstrated that true wealth does not lie in material possessions, but in the ability to touch and transform lives. He showed that each of us, regardless of our circumstances, has the power to make a difference and leave a positive mark on the world.